Thank you for the invite to speak here today. Congratulations on phase 2 of ARC. Really looking forward to the next era and where things go. You've just heard who I am. Voluntary Sector Northwest is the regional infrastructure body for the voluntary community, faith and social enterprise sector. So that's VCFSE. Yes, we did have a vote, and if you've ever had to respond to a bishop shouting at you, where's the F in VCSE in front of 300 people, you'd know why it's VCFSE. And we do have those votes on a sub-regional basis, so it's quite comprehensive, and that's the way we'd like to be called. Other jobs I have and other hats, I'm chair of the Greater Manchester VCFSE Leadership Group and a partner member for the sector on the Cheshire and Merseyside ICB. I've spent just over 28 years working in and for the sector across the Northwest and nationally. Just to give you a sense of what the sector's like in the Northwest, there's over 50,000 groups. I'm sure you'll have been hunted down by big charities, of which there are numerous ones who are particularly health-oriented, but there's lots of other groups, many of whom don't have many staff. So about 2/3 of those 50,000 won't have any paid staff, but will be very interested in what they want to do for their communities, themselves and their beneficiaries. There's over 100,000 employees in the Northwest and 430,000 regular volunteers. And that's all alongside 10 to 12% of the population being informal carers. So it's a big world, and it's a world that sometimes touches on the way that health systems and health research works, but it could be far stronger. And that's kind of what I've come to talk to you about. I want to make an offer, and I want to make a couple of asks. That's the barbed way that we work in the voluntary sector. And I'd like to see this embedded into phase 2 of ARC, and it was really nice to follow on from all the work that's happened around community inclusion and public involvement that we just heard before. And Corin's been a big part of how we've been able to begin to engage. So a lot of depth in the way we work and the fact that I'm even here, really. And it was really nice to see in the report on the tables, I think it's the second case study, voluntary sector in terms of citizens' advice and advice on prescription is a case study, and the work that researchers here have made sure that investment and that service stays alive for citizens, communities and people in need. So I'm just pointing out there how ARC has a real track record of VCSE engagement. What we've developed over the last 12 months is a platform called Bridge, which is funded through NIHR, Regional Research Delivery Network. And what we're trying to do with that is connect academics and voluntary sector professionals and groups across the Northwest, but Cheshire, Merseyside, and looking to build that into the way that we work across Lancashire and South Cumbria as well. It didn't exist a few years ago, so we're hoping it can be a big part of Corin 2.0, if that's the phrase we can use, and ARC 2.0. I want to push on the question now, because I think the honest answer is the voluntary sector appears mostly in ARC research once design decisions have already been made. And I think we need to think through how we can change up that relationship over the next few years and make sure it's more embedded. The VCFSE sector is routinely mischaracterised in health research. It's treated as a delivery mechanism, a network of organisations that can implement interventions, recruit participants, or extend reach into communities that health systems find hard to access. And it's definitely those things, but that's not what it's fundamentally about. At its best, it's civic, social capital and infrastructure for communities. It comprises organisations with long-term trusted relationships in those communities, and we've heard about some of the findings in the news over the last few days around health inequalities and a healthy life and healthy life expectancy. The relationships those groups have formed were built long before research projects have turned up or will persist long after. It includes a workforce that are embedded in those neighbourhoods, and that's a key point around the conversations around the shift from acute to community and thinking through the different kind of research answers we need for a different operating environment that we're being asked collectively as partners to begin to embark upon. The sector holds a body of knowledge about what actually happens in people's lives, and it's key that that's brought into all the research, and I know you will do it. It's just making it more systematic. We have some of the starkest health inequalities in our patch, and it's being recognised in some of the projects around Pride in Place They're calling it double deprivation now, but anyway. ARC was built to address those health inequalities from my perspective, and you cannot fully understand or address those health inequalities without the VCFSE sector as a genuine partner in research, not just dissemination and not just in the ethics paperwork. And that's because the VCFSE sector is a fundamental part of communities. Anyway, what's the ask of phase 2? 3 challenges. The first one is an offer and an ask. The first is to treat the Bridge Research Network platform as a methodology, not just a network. It connects researchers, academics, and VCFSE professionals across the footprint. And it launched, currently it's got 200 members, but we want to see that grow exponentially and be part of the way that research processes are built. It has real potential, but that potential isn't impact without your support, and a network is not the same as a research methodology. I'd like to see phase 2 of ARC commit to supporting VCFSE organisations to be involved through Bridge and creating those research partnerships from design right through to implementation. So I was really interested to hear the knowledge mobilisation process and thinking through how the sector could be involved right throughout that pathway. So please use Bridge Research Network platform. As I say, it's funded through the RRDN. It's free to use. The second is to name the measurement gap as a research problem. One of the constant frustrations, and we went through a couple of race pieces along this, and that's backed up this. One of the consistent frustrations in VCFSE health system partnerships is that the contribution of the sector is invisible in the data. And this issue is becoming more and more fundamental in the way that partnerships need to develop and health systems operate. We don't have systematic tracking of what organisations collectively deliver in health and care pathways. We can't reliably measure workforce, population reach, outcomes in ways that integrate with NHS data sets. And because we can't measure it, we can't evaluate it, which means we can't build the evidence base that will allow commissioners and policymakers to invest in it with confidence. And we need to be able to scale up that role that the voluntary sector plays in our communities in this new health model. I've mentioned the new neighbourhood health system operating environment. If that's going to become a reality, we need to think through what's not just inside the health and social care system, but what's outside the health and social care system that's driving the way people live their lives. And that's my second ask. The third one is about the VCSE role in knowledge mobilisation. I've touched on that, and it was really interesting to see some of the details of how that's going to operate. I'm not suggesting, I was thinking whether we were going to be the donkey work for all this, but I'll resist that. Communities facing the deepest health inequalities, voluntary sector can be seen as an implementation mechanism in its own right. They exist in those communities and translate research findings into changed behaviour, changed services, and changed lives. If you want somebody to champion your work, to turn your research into a social movement, you need to make sure you bring on charities, VCFSE groups from the beginning and get them to co-own that research with you. They will go on well beyond you're active in that research and attempt to make that a reality and systematise it as much as they possibly can and work with other partners to do that. Please think of the voluntary VCFSE sector as a knowledge system in its own right, one that generates practice knowledge that should flow into research, not just receive research knowledge that flows out. The sector is organised, connected, and operating across this region through bodies like VSNW and through networks like Bridge. It's ready to be a genuine research partner in phase 2 of ARC, not just a delivery partner, not just a recruitment channel, but a research partner. And that means being involved when questions are formed, not just when data is being collected. It means being supported to contribute knowledge as well as access. And it means being recognised as bringing something to the research relationship that researchers alone cannot provide for themselves. Proximity, trust, and continuity in communities where those things are genuinely hard to build. I know that there's fantastic stuff that's happened over the last 20 years as part of ARC. What I'm asking is, can we systematise it and make it become the norm rather than a little bit more of the exception? Please find your VCFSE partners, build the movement for your research, use the Bridge Research Network platform to help you, and we'll circulate details of that after the event with the support of partners, if that's okay. Thank you, everybody.